Let's first take a look at the currency setup. One of the first and most important setups in AX is the currency setup, and it is a mandatory step which is used to record financial transactions. Multi-currency functionality may be used if your company does business in more than one currency. If your organization has multiple legal entities and transacts in multiple currencies, then maintaining currencies and their corresponding exchange rate is essential. There are several things in regards to currencies that need to be set up. We need to determine which currencies we will be transacting in. We need to specify our exchange rate types, which then allow us to set up our currency exchange rates. Once we have determined our currencies, we can then define currency exchange rates between two currencies, also known as a currency pair. And then with our currency setup, we then must designate the default main accounts that will be used during the currency revaluation process. These will determine our gains and losses. Let's now review how we can set up our currencies in AX. So in this demonstration, I will update an existing currency and add the currency information to the ledger. Let's first take a look how we can modify our currencies. And to do that, I want to navigate through the general ledger into our currencies form. Now here we can see all of the currencies that are available to us. In AX, by default, all currencies are provided. And what we're looking in this form is it allows us to modify any existing currencies as well as create a new one by selecting the New button on the top. Now if I want to quickly get into a currency, in the Filter field, I can type in my currency code and select Enter. And as you can see now, we're in the Euro currency code. Each currency may have specific attributes associated with it, such as the currency code, the name, and the symbol. The other option we have is this reference currency for triangulation. AX does allow you to specify one triangulation currency, and this feature is used in European countries where the conversion to the euro is being undertaken as a national currency is phased out. Basically, the triangulation rule is that you have to convert from one participating currency to another, and you must convert via the euro and round the euro amount to not less than 3 decimal places. As you can see, by default, the euro is selected as the triangulation currency, and only one currency can be set up for this. So if you did need to change it to a different currency, we would have to change this to no, and then go into that new currency and move that to yes for our triangulation currency. The triangulation currency does tie into denomination currencies, and a denomination currency is a currency that is denominated or fixed to the triangulation currency. These will be triangulated through the triangulation currency during the currency conversion process. That is a completely different setup than what we see here in the currencies form, and we'll take a look at that later on when we discuss multi-currency. Now the other options that we have here is the currency converter. And as stated in the section, it's an online numeric conversion tool. So if we have to run any other reports or view any other inquiries or list pages in a different currency than our accounting currency, we want to make sure that we have any other currency set up as a conversion. So I'm going to select Edit to make some changes here, and I'm going to change my euro to say this is a conversion currency. Now for example, where this may be beneficial is if I'm running my trial balance and I want to view this in a different currency other than my USD, now that I have euro set up as my conversion currency, I can now run that trial balance in the euro currency. In the other section, we have our rounding rules. Now what we want to do is we want to specify a unit in the general rounding rule fields. This is to say, what are we going to round any amounts to? So in my general rounding rule, if I specify this as 0.01, based on my rounding methods, AX will now round to the nearest hundredth. As you can see, we can also set that up for sales orders, purchase orders, prices, and fixed asset depreciation amounts. Now along with the rounding rule, we also have our rounding methods. as you can see, we have normal, downward, or rounding up. Normal would be your typical rounding option, where anything from 0 to 4 would round down, and anything 5 and higher would round up. So if I had an amount that ended with 0.004, that is going to round down to 0.00. If I have another amount that is 0.007, that is then going to round up to 0.01. With the downward option, we're telling AX that no matter what the amount is, we want it to round down. So if I have a value that is 0.014, that's going to round down to 0.01. If I have another amount with a value of 0.018, that is still going to round down to 0.01. And the last option is rounding up. So this is the complete opposite of rounding down, where any amount will round up to the nearest 100th. So if I have a value of 0.014, that's going to round up to 0.02. If I have a value of 0.017, that also will round up to 0.02. And the last setting that we have here is the currency gender. This is a specification of either masculine or feminine, and masculine will be the default, and that is used on checks and reports in Spanish-speaking countries or regions. With our currencies now set up, what we need to do next is we need to add our currency information to the ledger. So to get to the ledger form, I'm again going to navigate through the general ledger, go into our ledger setup, and click on our ledger form. Now, as you can see in this form, on the bottom, we have some different currency settings. The first one is our accounting currency, and this is going to be your default company currency. So any transaction that you create will be defaulted to the USD currency. Now, you do have the ability to change that on the transaction, and then AX will use any exchange rates out there during that currency conversion. The accounting currency is the monetary unit of measure used to record the converted monetary value of economic transactions in the ledger. The next option that we have here is the reporting currency. This is the monetary unit of measure used for reporting and financial accounting purposes. Now, anytime we create a transaction, there will always be a currency conversion from the accounting currency and the reporting currency. In what we're looking at right now, my currencies are the same, so those values will always be the same when looking at reports and looking at any voucher that's created from a transaction. If I were to have that set to something different, AX would always run a conversion based on the exchange rates that are out there between my accounting currency and my reporting currency. In order to see how AX translates our currencies, let's take a look at a voucher. Now, to do that, I'm going to go through the general ledger, in through inquiries and reports, and look at our voucher transactions. I have this filtered by one main account, and I'll click OK to run the report. Now that this opens, we can see all the ledger transactions for this one main account. And if we look at this bottom one that's highlighted, we can see that this was transacted in a euro currency. So there are three fields that we're going to be able to see on our vouchers. The first one is the amount in the transaction currency. This is going to be the currency that was used on the transaction. The next field is the amount. This is going to be the amount of the accounting currency or our company currency. And then the last one is going to be the amount in the reporting currency. So at the time of the transaction, when it's posted, AX is running that currency conversion and creating these entries in our voucher for us.